Part 2 is here. Part 2 to my most popular video, which was sounding like John Mayer with the pentatonic scale. We all know it, we all love it. Here's the theme of today's video. I'm not going to write out the tips like I did in the first one. It's going to be quick. I'm going to just spill my guts on everything I know that kind of makes me sound John Mayer-esque. Nobody can be the J-Dog, but I'm trying. So I'm going to show you everything I know, no order. I'm putting it out there. First tip first, this is going to be a very valuable tip. This is his repeating lick. This is, you hear it in every time he's playing fast blues. I'm going to play it for you here, and then I will do a up close, slower version. Just keep rewinding it, and you'll get it. So let's say we're in C minor. It's this lick. He adds to it, so you can add to it. You always see him do it. That's a classic. It's a classic. So do whatever you want with that. Add to it. Subtract from it. I'm not your boss. I'll put the overlay here. Okay, next one. We're going down the list, like I said. So this one is going to be combining this, which I'm sure we're all familiar with. If you're not, just a half step up, half step back, and then back to your root. So I'm combining that with a bend. So what does that sound like? That's a great one. You can do it anywhere. That's a good one. It makes you sound like you know what you're doing. Next one. Okay, this is a great one. Double stops. We all know them. We all love them. Hendrix's best friend. John Mayer's best friend. Lots of people's good buddy. So we're going to take our normal double stops. Right? Everyone knows that. And we're going to add a pull-off to them to make them sound much more creamy and professional. So I'm going. A good example would be Ain't No Sunshine. So this is it without my tip. Sounds great, but I'm going to add my little pull-off in there. Gives it that grit, that, you know. Gives it a very Hendrixy Mayer thing. Great, next, half step bends. So in your scale, where you have these half step, gaps. We're just going up one little fret, bend up just a half step. Anywhere in your scale you find a half step, even in your lower strings, so combine those. Start combining them once you get familiar with them. Next, vibrato. I see so many people doing this for vibrato. Vibrato doesn't work going back and forth. This is a fretted instrument. It's not a violin. If it was a fretless, that's the only way you could do vibrato, but that's not the case. So when you have a fretted instrument like a guitar, you have to go up and down. Up and then down. So the tip is doing a much more slow, relaxed. You're kind of scooping the vibrato out versus buzzing like a bee, if that makes sense. So I'll give the bad example. Sometimes that sounds good. Not all the time. What sounds much better is, so in context, or we're in E major, slow, scoopy. Make it sound like you've been there for a long time and you know what you're doing. Next, soft touch. So that basically is just playing little soft accents, you know, going from so just being tougher in your attack and then throwing in a little soft guy here and there. Next. This thing sounds really good. What I wrote on my list here that I'm looking at says, slow dancing, slinky slide, rake licks. So wrap your head around that, buckle in. This sounds really good. So I'm in my scale. Everyone knows that little. So I'm going slide up, grabbing those bottom strings, raking as I'm going back. So slow it down if you need to. So I'm muting everything I don't want to play. I'm only playing that string. That sounds very John Mayer. And I do that, or I called it the slow dancing because it just sounds very... Next, oh yes, so let's say we're in a minor key. We're in C minor. Our roots. You get the point. C minor. You always hit that root on the D string. I'm going to add a little slight bend on my first finger. Instead of going bum bum, I'm going brow bum. Does that make sense? I don't know. You can do it anywhere on the roots. Adding steez, giving it some swag. Giving it some riz, if you will. Next, it just says honorable mentions. I didn't think this far ahead. What stuff do I have? Practice doing this. A good example as far as, you know, kind of the key and the tempo would be try. My point is, keep that bounce going, those 2 octaves, and just hit one at a time. And then add to it, and get used to playing with a metronome and kind of just adding to this little pizza pie you're cooking up. Trying to think if there's any other things. I'll just kind of go back over them. Repeating lick. Again, go back to the beginning if you need to watch it again in slow-mo. Combining the half-step slide with a bend. Double stops. Half-step bends, anywhere you can add them. vibrato, we're scooping it out. Make it sound nicer, more velvety, if you will. Soft touch. Give it some spikes. Give it more attack. Give it less attack. That's the tip. Next, the slow dancing thingy. Again, I'm just using the back of my pick on that upstroke to rake, muting everything I don't want to hear. So if you play something and it sounds bad, mute it. Your problem, not mine. Next. This guy, this little... Wow, wow, like I said earlier. So a lot of times this applies to any string. Using that first finger to get a little half bend, not quite a full step, not quite a half step, just a little flavor, just a little bit of English on it. That's a good one. I think that's all. So I'm going to try to use all the tips that I've talked about over a slow dancing backing track. Try to pick them out. If you can see where I'm using these tips, you will be rewarded with absolutely nothing. If you have to rewind it, watch it a couple times, that's your problem. It doesn't sound like mine. Just saying. Shall we?